What you're about to see in this video is absolutely mind-blowing. I really hope that you will take the time to watch till the end, because as you watch you will understand that not only your life and the life of your beloved ones, but the very existence of all of humanity is at stake. And this is not an exaggeration by any means. So please sit back and watch the most important message that humanity has to hear in our time.
So I want to talk to you today about the future of our species and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens. Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
Later in this video, you will see much more about this insane agenda of the World Economic Forum to submit all of humanity to the rule of cyborgs. But first, I need to show you something else that is equally bizarre and absolutely mind-blowing. This is the 46th President of the United States. They say that he is Joe Biden, the former Vice President under Obama. Now, what if I told you that there is something extremely weird going on with this guy? Something so bizarre that none of us could ever imagine it. Even if you're not in America, I really want to encourage you to keep watching, because you will see that this is of direct relevance to everyone all over the world. Whether we're in America, Africa, Asia or Europe, it doesn't matter. Because what you're about to see shows what's really going on in governments, not only in America, but all over the world. I'll start by showing you two different interviews from Biden in 2010, and then we will compare that with an interview of Biden in 2020.
But when he indicated to me he was looking for me to give me my best judgment and for him to consider it, that's good enough for me. I'm not looking for a portfolio. I'm not looking for anything other than to be able to be part of the change this guy's been talking about, and very bluntly, I've been talking about. America's back. We're at the head of the table once again. I've spoken with over 20 world leaders, and they all are literally really pleased and somewhat excited. America's going to reassert its role in the world.
Here I muted their voices so you can focus on their faces. These are portraits of both Bidens. Let's zoom in on one particular detail, the right ear. The right earlobe from the real Biden is thick and separated from his head. The right earlobe from the new Biden is thin and connected to his head. His ear is also more angled towards the back. The following grayscale version of these ears highlights the significant difference even more clearly. Other portraits confirm this apparent distinction between their right ears. Let's go back to the images of the interviews. The original Biden has a birthmark on his forehead, which is absent on the forehead of the current Biden. The original Biden had sunken cheeks, while the new Biden has apple cheeks. Their eyes are particularly distinct, with different eyelids, different eye bags, different eyebrows, and a different expression in their eyes altogether, revealing another personality. In fact, their entire demeanor shows that these are two separate personalities. Some might say these dramatic changes are the result of plastic surgery, but that is ridiculous. Plastic surgery doesn't change the shape of the skull and doesn't alter one's posture or personality. They are clearly two different men. No matter how ridiculous or unbelievable it may seem, the conclusion is inevitable. Clearly, the current President of the United States is not the real Joe Biden. The eyes are entirely different. The eyebrows, the eyelids, the eye bags, the expression in the eyes. The ears can't even be compared. That's how distinct they are. The skull is different. His personality and demeanor is entirely different. There is no comparison between these two men. So the question is, why have they done this? Well, obviously, this actor, this imposter, had to assume the identity of Joe Biden because he was known by the American public, and he needed this to be able to take the seat of the American president. But what is the agenda behind this? Why this theater for the whole world? Why are they lying to everyone? Well, if we look at what this man is doing, then we can see that he is closely working with the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is the #1 entity in our world that is pushing very hard towards global governance or a one world government. The agenda for global governance has been pushed for decades. I'll show you a few clips.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
Type 1 civilization is a connected civilization, a single global culture, a single global language, global communication, global politics. We see this beginning now. We see it emerging all around us. Eventually we will see the rise of a single world government.
2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
These measures are enacted and we continue to move forward with the G20 process. We will have the kind of global governance that is necessary to ensure the stability and transparency of markets.
The main public organization that is pushing this agenda is the World Economic Forum. On the website we can see their detailed strategy, and it includes global governance. It includes internet governance, which means that they want to establish complete control over what kind of information is allowed on the internet and what has to be censored. They also want to install worldwide digital IDs, which will be connected to vaccine passports, social credit scores, and a suffocating surveillance system, which will eradicate every and all personal freedom and install a totalitarian, dystopian control system which will allow no escape for anyone, because it will be everywhere. In one post on the website Forbes.com, which is a very prominent website of the globalists, the World Economic Forum literally, publicly makes the statement that even the thoughts, emotions and dreams of everybody living in the big cities will be recorded. That's how far they want to push their worldwide surveillance society. This article was written by Ida Auken, a young global leader of the World Economic Forum. She was strategically positioned as the Minister of the Environment in the government of Denmark. She is now aggressively pushing for the development of smart cities where this all-encompassing surveillance technology will be implemented. This was confirmed by the president of Chile, who on national television openly said that 5G is able to not only read our thoughts, but to actually insert thoughts and emotions. Talking about a dystopian nightmare.
La posibilidad que las máquinas puedan leer nuestro pensamiento e incluso puedan insertar pensamientos, insertar sentimientos. La tecnología 5G es un cambio aún mayor en nuestras vidas de lo que han significado todas las tecnologías anteriores en esta materia.
This president from Chile is also a very passionate servant of the World Economic Forum and their agenda. On the website stopworldcontrol.com you can find an in-depth report that outlines the entire agenda for world domination by the World Economic Forum and their globalist allies. The agenda for world domination is nothing new. Human history saw the rise and fall of one world empire after the other. The Chinese, Greek, Roman, Spanish and British world empires all desired one thing: submit all of humanity to their totalitarian control. Of course, they all claim to improve the state of the world, just like the World Economic Forum is doing today. And they use fancy words like sustainable development. But if you look at their agenda, it is crystal clear that they simply want to rob humanity from their voice, their identity, their rights and freedoms, and install a complete totalitarian, dystopian control, surveillance society, which will be literally hell on earth for humanity. One of the ways that the World Economic Forum seizes control over governments worldwide is by strategically positioning their puppets into the governments. Klaus Schwab was recorded on video bragging about how they fill cabinets all over the world.
What we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, is that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I mean, with the president, with a young global leader, but...
Klaus Schwab also brags about how they control scientists, the media, activists, and even religious leaders.
We have, if I look at our stakeholders, we have business, of course, as a very important audience, and we have politics. We have continuous partnerships with many governments around the world. And of course we have NGOs, we have trade unions, we have all those different parts.
Media, of course.
Media, of course, and very important experts and scientists and academia. Because if we are looking at the future, I think we should look at new solutions, and the new solutions will be very much driven by technological developments.
And we even have, you even have religious leaders, right?
We have religious leaders, we have social entrepreneurs, very important social entrepreneurs.
Klaus Schwab says they are the ones who determine the future. Note how he talks about their role in the global governance system. This means controlling the whole world.
So we have defined 15 key systems for the world. For example, the future, shaping the future of digital industries, shaping the future of the financial and monetary system, shaping the future of health system, shaping the future of socially inclusive countries, shaping the future of education, and I could go on and on.
Still, the majority of the world population considers this to be fake news or a conspiracy theory. Meanwhile, Schwab openly speaks about 15 key systems they are working on that they want to impose on all of humanity. without the consent of any one of us. He says they are shaping the future of healthcare, education, money, and so on, every aspect of our lives. One of their most nefarious goals is to end humanity as we know it and turn every human being into a cyborg, a symbiosis between man and machine. This can sound very interesting for some people who think that it will give us superhuman abilities, and it may do that to a certain degree. What they of course don't mention is that once you're hooked up to the cloud and you are controlled by artificial intelligence, you lose every and all independence, sovereignty, freedom. Then you literally become a slave of a totalitarian digital surveillance network worldwide. And there's no escaping, because once you have the chip in your brain, you will be monitored everywhere you go, and they will be able to insert all kinds of commands into your body that will control you even beyond your consciousness. You won't even notice it. That agenda is confirmed by a prominent spokesperson for the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, the Israeli professor Noah Yuval Harari. Listen closely to some of his insane statements.
We've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Do you realize what he's actually saying? Remember, this is a prominent spokesperson for the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and many other leading globalist entities, who literally declares that people will no longer be able to choose who they elect or what they even buy in the supermarket. That era is over, he says.
Whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Eventually, within 10 or 20 or 30 years, such algorithms could also tell you what to study at college and where to work and whom to marry and even whom to vote for.
So according to Harari, we should no longer listen to our heart, our intuition, our experience, our own senses, but we should allow artificial intelligence to determine who to marry and who to vote for. This means a total takeover of the human soul, spirit, mind, and our entire life by robots.
After thousands of years, during which humans were the rulers of the world, authority and power will shift away from humans to computers, and most humans will become economically useless and politically powerless. Already today, we are beginning to see the creation of a new class of humans, the useless class.
During the 2020 Davos conference, there was a session dedicated to discussing the transition from humanity to becoming a cyborg. One of the panel members confirmed what we've heard from Harari, that technology will no longer be outside of us, but will be built deep inside of us.
We're going to start the When Humans Become Cyborg session. You know, I always want to be a cyborg. I'm waiting for the day to become one, but let's see. Like today, we like to really talk about the recent developments of brain-computer interface and how that's really blurring the line between man and machine.
There is even like devices that can collect what you're seeing, measuring your feelings either through facial recognition devices, micro muscle movements, and so on. This data is going to be stored somewhere, so it might be in a cloud service.
I can easily imagine big tech companies having a lot of control over that data. So is that the future that's...
Yeah.
In another session, the CEO of Nokia said that smartphones will be built inside of our bodies.
I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And that it's indeed their agenda to track us everywhere we go, everything we do, everything we buy is confirmed in this clip from the World Economic Forum.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
And of course, they always use an excuse. In this instance, they use climate change as the excuse. Yeah, we have to completely track where you go to make sure that you don't emit too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. These are the guys who have been destroying our world from the very beginning. They are the ones who have been financing and building the construction of factories all over the world. They are the ones who have been destroying all the forests. They are the ones who have been building all the big cities, eradicating all the trees. They are the ones who have been doing everything that has been devastating the world. It's the big financial elites. And now they use the destruction that they have caused as the excuse to impose a suffocating, surveillance, tyrannical society onto all of us. Apart from implanting all kinds of technological devices and computer chips into our bodies, they are talking about genetically editing humanity, which means that it will change us at our very core. We will become GMO, genetically modified organisms. Here's what Klaus Schwab has to say about this.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. You know, when you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design. We are in the process of acquiring divine abilities, of turning ourselves into gods. And I mean this in the most literal sense possible. It's not a metaphor. God is the creator. His chief power is to create. He creates animals and plants and humans according to his wishes. Now we are gaining this power to create life, just like God. And in a way, we even go beyond the biblical God. Because even if you believe the Bible, the only thing God managed to create are organic beings. All these trees and giraffes and humans, they are just organic. But we are now trying to create inorganic entities, inorganic life forms, cyborgs, artificial intelligence, and so forth. If we succeed, and there is a very good chance we will, then very soon we will be beyond the God of the Bible. Humankind splitting into biological castes because bioengineering gives us, for the first time in history, the ability to translate economic inequality into biological inequality. So, and then humankind splits into really different species or different biological castes. One of the things that is happening right now in the world is that you see the elite diverging from humankind as a whole and already seeing beyond the horizon or on the horizon the possibility of a real split, that the future of the elite and the future of Homo sapiens, that's a different future because the elite is going to be transformed into a different kind of species.
Harari has chosen a very peculiar name for a technology to edit humans. He calls it
B times C times D equals R, which means biological knowledge multiplied by computing power multiplied by data equals the ability to hack humans, R.
This is very significant because he's a Jew, he comes from Israel, he knows Hebrew. In the Hebrew language and culture, the name of God, the creator of all life, is Ah. The full name of God is Yahweh, which basically means the breath of life. He who creates all life is always present. In English we pronounce it as Yahweh. In the Bible you see that many people who went into a relationship with the creator of life, like Abraham, when God made a covenant with him, he added his name to the name of Abraham. And Abraham was changed in Abraham. So was added to his name. Is the name of the Most High God, the creator of all life.
B times C times D equals R, which means biological knowledge multiplied by computing power multiplied by data equals the ability to hack humans, R. We are in the process of acquiring divine abilities, of turning ourselves into gods. And I mean this in the most literal sense possible. It's not a metaphor. Now we are gaining this power to create life, just like God. And in a way, we even go beyond the biblical God.
The fact that Harari uses the name of God for the technology to edit and to basically create a new form of life, to pervert humans and make them into something controllable through digital technology, shows the level of insanity of these people. It sounds like the plot of a cheap science fiction movie, but it's not a movie. It is the horrific reality of the official agenda, published and promoted all over the world by the World Economic Forum and by their puppets in governments, in nations worldwide. And this imposter who is acting as if he's Biden so that he could fill the seat of the American president, he is pushing this agenda big time. He recently signed an executive order that paves the way for this transhumanist agenda. The executive order reads as follows. We need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way in which we write software and program computers. Unlock the power of biological data, including through computing tools and artificial intelligence. So it is obvious why this actor, this imposter, this fake Biden had to be positioned in order to steer America towards this agenda. So how did this imposter get into that position in the first place? Well, several former generals and colonels from the US military have come forward and they have been revealing undeniable evidence that the 2020 presidential election was rigged.
Everybody in this country, everybody in the world knows that this election on the 3rd of November was a total ripoff. It was a fraudulent election. We have had foreign interference from multiple countries, and Donald Trump was the clear winner. For the next 4 days after the 3rd of November, from about the 4th through the 7th, 8th of November, they just started stuffing the ballot boxes, and everybody knows it, and they got caught. They got caught with their hands in the proverbial cookie jar, so that's where we are. In terms of the election, what we know is that the election was won by Donald Trump that night. Approximately 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, 80 to 90% of the precincts in nationwide, Trump won hands down, hands down. And then all of a sudden we had this very, very uncertain, everything stops. We've never had that in our country, in our presidential election. So 5 states shut down. Joe Biden goes to bed. I mean, he probably never came out of the basement. And so then what happened was they realized, they being the Democratic machine, they realized that the algorithms that they put into these Dominion machines and these what's called ES&S, which is electronic security systems, 95% of the of the electronic voting done in this country is done by those two systems, Dominion and ES&S, okay? The majority of people in this country don't even realize that. Those machines are and the companies behind them are partially owned by the Chinese Communist Party. The Communist Chinese Party paid $200 million in 2014 to Dominion, and they paid in October, I believe it was October of 2020, another $400 million put into this company. So we have foreign interference from China, we have foreign interference from Serbia, we have foreign interference from Italy, from Spain, from Germany, and then on the 3rd of November, the FBI and CISA, which is that guy Krebs, right? Krebs, who came out and said, hey, there's no foreign interference at all about a week after the election. CISA is a Homeland Security cyber security agency. On the 30th of October, 2020, and on the 3rd of November, both in what's called a joint intelligence advisory, the FBI and CISA issued an advisory saying that Iran is mucking around in our election system. They were doing it on the 3rd of November, which is the day of the election. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security both said there's foreign interference in our election on election day by the country of Iran.
There's a person who is telling the world what Italy's role was using the satellite, Italian government satellite, and they were changing votes. But there were many countries that were doing that. But it had to be controlled from China using hammer and scorecard, in my opinion, because you couldn't have so many different attacks, because you'd be changing numbers in all the 50 states that just wouldn't match up. That has to be synchronized. Taking control. They have taken control of our society.
There is even a video recording of an Italian top lawyer who reads an affidavit from an Italian government official who confesses under oath that he was part of an operation led by the US Embassy in Rome to use defense satellites that switched millions of votes from Trump to Biden.
Professor Alfio D'Urso, lawyer of Via Vittorio Emanuele, Catania, do hereby provide the following affidavit of facts as conveyed in several meetings with a high-level Army Security Services official. Under instruction and direction of U.S. persons working from the U.S. Embassy in Rome, undertook the operation to switch data from the U.S. election of 3rd November 2020 from significant margin of victory from Donald Trump to Joe Biden in a number of states where Joe Biden was losing the vote totals. Defendant states that he was working in Pescara facility of Leonardo Spa and utilized military-grade cyber warfare encryption capabilities to transmit switched votes via military satellite of Fushino Tower to Frankfurt, Germany. The defendant swears that the data in some cases may have been switched to represent more than total voters registered. The defendant states he is willing to testify to all individuals and entities involved in the switching of votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden when he shall be in total protection from himself and his family. Defendant states he has secured in an undisclosed location the backup of the original data and data switched upon instruction to provide evidence at court in this matter. I hereby declare and swear the above stated facts have been stated in my presence.
There's also footage from surveillance cameras that has revealed how thousands of people have been stuffing ballot boxes with countless fake ballots for Biden. And you can see this footage with your own eyes in the movie 2000 Mules. And then you have the documentary's absolute proof and scientific proof that even uncover the actual servers in China that were also used to switch innumerable votes from Trump to Biden. So why have all these nations worked together to remove Trump from office? We find the answer if we listen to the speeches that Trump has given For example, at the General Assembly of the United Nations and at the yearly conference at the World Economic Forum. Trump made very bold and very fearless statements against their agenda of a one-world government and total world domination.
Each of us here today is the emissary of a distinct culture, a rich history, and a people bound together by ties of memory, tradition, and the values that make our homelands like nowhere else on earth. That is why America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination. I honor the right of every nation in this room to pursue its own customs, beliefs, and traditions. The United States will not tell you how to live or work or worship. We only ask that you honor our sovereignty in return. In America, we believe in the majesty of freedom and the dignity of the individual. We believe in self-government and the rule of law, and we prize the culture that sustains our liberty, a culture built on strong families, deep faith, and fierce independence. We celebrate our heroes, we treasure our traditions, and above all, we love our country. Inside everyone in this great chamber today, and everyone listening all around the globe, there is the heart of a patriot that feels the same powerful love for your nation, the same intense loyalty to your homeland. The passion that burns in the hearts of patriots and the souls of nations has inspired reform and revolution, sacrifice and selflessness, scientific breakthroughs, and magnificent works of art. Our task is not to erase it, but to embrace it, to build with it, to draw on its ancient wisdom, and to find within it the will to make our nations greater, our region safer, and the world better. To unleash this incredible potential in our people, we must defend the foundations that make it all possible. Sovereign and independent nations are the only vehicle where freedom has ever survived, democracy has ever endured, or peace has ever prospered. And so we must protect our sovereignty and our cherished independence above all. So together, let us choose a future of patriotism, prosperity, and pride. Let us choose peace and freedom over domination and defeat. And let us come here to this place to stand for our people and their nations, forever strong, forever sovereign, forever just, and forever thankful for the grace and the goodness and the glory of God. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump radically confronted the nefarious agenda of diminishing individual nations in the favor of global governance. During his second speech at the General Assembly of the United Nations, President Trump was even more direct.
Our time is one of great contests, high stakes, and clear choices. The essential divide that runs all around the world and throughout history is once again thrown into stark relief. It is the divide between those whose thirst for control deludes them into thinking they are destined to rule over others, and those people and nations who want only to rule themselves. I have the immense privilege of addressing you today as the elected leader of a nation that prizes liberty, independence, and self-government above all. Americans know that in a world where others seek conquest and domination, our nation must be strong in wealth, in might, and in spirit. That is why the United States vigorously defends the traditions and customs that have made us who we are. Like my beloved country, each nation represented in this hall has a cherished history, culture, and heritage that is worth defending and celebrating, and which gives us our singular potential and strength. The free world must embrace its national foundations. It must not attempt to erase them or replace them. Looking around and all over this large, magnificent planet, the truth is plain to see. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. If you want democracy, hold on to your sovereignty. And if you want peace, love your nation. Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique. Globalism exerted a religious pull over past leaders, causing them to ignore their own national interests. But as far as America is concerned, those days are over. Love of our nations makes the world better for all nations. So to all the leaders here today, join us in the most fulfilling mission a person could have, the most profound contribution anyone can make. Lift up your nations, cherish your culture, honor your histories, treasure your citizens, make your country strong and prosperous and righteous, honor the dignity of your people, and nothing will be outside of your reach. When our nations are greater, the future will be brighter, our people will be happier, and our partnerships will be stronger. With God's help, together we will cast off the enemies of liberty and overcome the oppressors of dignity.
When President Trump spoke at the World Economic Forum, he did the exact same thing. The strategy of the globalists is to always create fear by projecting doom and destruction over our world. They do this so that the people would be terrified and then ready to accept their quote-unquote salvation, which literally means imposing totalitarian dictatorships, stealing all rights and freedoms from the people. President Trump literally exposed that right in their midst, and he said that America would not go along with their agenda.
But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom.
So it is clear why they had to remove him. And one of the billionaires who pushes the agenda of the globalists is George Soros. He announced that President Trump would be removed from office because he was so-called a threat to the world.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020.
And indeed, that's what they did. They executed an unprecedented international operation to steal the presidential election. The reason I make this video is to show you a few things. First of all, that there is organized crime at the highest level of our nations. This doesn't only happen in America. Recently in Brazil, the exact same thing happened, where the most popular president of Brazil in all of the history of that country, Jair Bolsonaro, loved by the people like no one else. He supposedly was rejected by the Brazilian people in favor of a guy who, just like Biden, was extremely unpopular, only had a few people at his rallies. But he is pushing the agenda of the globalists. He is forcing the plan to destroy Brazil and make it a nation that will be completely submitted to the totalitarian tyranny of a one-world government. And Donald Trump is the one who exposed them clearly. He called them out for what they are.
These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives.
I want to invite you to open your eyes. Stop pretending as if nothing is wrong. The Roman Empire was real. Chinese Empire, British Empire, Greek, Spanish Empire, they were all very real. These tyrants haven't gone anywhere. It's now our turn in the course of history to stand up against criminal, dark, evil tyrants and to protect our children and to make sure that we build a better world. So please share this video far and wide. It is imperative that we wake up the people. Don't be the one where the spreading of this important message stops because you're afraid to show it to somebody else. If we all keep sharing this, then we can break through their suffocating stranglehold over all of humanity and inform the people about what's really going on. I also invite you to go to the website stopworldcontrol.com and watch other documentaries that will powerfully inform you and help you to defend your life and help you to build a world of freedom, goodness and justice. A world where people can flourish instead of be oppressed by tyrants.